Yeah,
And,
hey, drop.
and it's that time again, guys. It is Monday, 5 o'clock p.m. Central Time, 6 o'clock p.m.
Prime Coverage Sports Network. Real coverage, real conversation.
It is 4 p.m. and it is time for Unfiltered Sports with Mac and Cal on Prime Coverage Network. Woo! Let's get into it, baby. We got a lot to recap. What an exciting game.
Yep.
In the fourth quarter. The first three quarters was a snooze fest. It was definitely the Patriots. I felt like we're playing it too safe in my estimation. The defense was intimidating from the Seattle Seahawks, but I thought they tried to play it too cautious, and at the same time, not enough recognition that your offensive line was going to need as much help as possible. There should have been a lot more 12 personnel.
Mm-hmm.
Two tight ends lined up, chipping, helping out on the edges as much as possible. The running game was devastated. I mean, like they were, whenever the Patriots tried to run the ball, they were hitting Henderson. I mean, it's been a long time since I seen a defense laying the wood on a running back like that in the Super Bowl. But that defense was laying the wood on Travion Henderson. As soon as he touched the ball, it was like piranhas heading to a lunch, and they were just all attacking. And Drake May was so overwhelmed.
Yeah, well, you said it was a snooze fest. I'm a defensive guy, so I liked seeing what I thought Seattle's defense was going to do the whole time. That's my thing. And I told you they were going to show up and they were going to play how they played. And I'll even give credit to New England's defense. They showed up too for a little bit. Christian Gonzalez had a pretty good game, but I mean that Seattle defense was just too much for him.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, look, that Seattle defense was not going to be denied without question. But when I say snooze fest, it was from the fact of that there was no real. It seemed like no one really wanted to take a chance. Everybody was just trying to play it safe. And yeah, I love the defensive side of it, but it really, even that, like I said, the fireworks didn't really start until the second half. Before that, it was just kind of like, okay, you know what, they're rushing. We're just going to throw the ball away. We try to run it. Okay, 3 and out. We're going to punt it back. And the game was close. I mean, it was actually a very smart game plan from the Patriots. They knew that they were overmatched from the offensive line side of things, and maybe even with just the offensive unit. They knew they were overmatched, so they were really trying to play a very safe, almost kind of like, hey, we're just gonna, you know what? Don't make the turnover. Don't make the turnover. That's kind of just seemed to be the mantra. Don't make the turnover. Our defense is playing well enough to keep us in this game. Don't make a turnover.
Yeah.
But Seattle kept doing something that I didn't see the Patriots do, and that was make adjustments. The the Patriots defense did come out and play, but Seattle kept finding a way to get within striking distance.
Yep.
Get a field goal. Got another field goal. Next thing you know, they've got a third field goal, then a fourth field goal. Now it's 12-0. And at that point, that's when the Patriots had to expose themselves for the team for the efficiencies that they lacked. And that was when we saw the turnover start to happen and the fireworks really started to fly, because the Patriots did have to start. They knew at that point, well, we got to do something here, because Seattle's just finding a way to just, edge ahead of us just a little bit farther. Yeah. And now it's become, once it got to 12-0, now it's at 9-0, it was still a 2-point. It could be a 2-possession game. You know what I mean? Because it's still gonna be a 2-possession game. Because even if you get the 2-point conversion, you still only got 8 and they got 9. But at that point now you're looking at where you got to score 2 touchdowns, whereas
Yep.
before it just had to be a touchdown, a field goal. Now you're looking at, okay, they've got 12. Now we got to try to score 2 touchdowns to try to take the lead. And I think that's where the pressure just really started to overload this young Patriots team, especially the young quarterback who was overmatched,
Oh yeah.
and Lord knows that left side of that line, that young line, they were
Those
completely
two rookies,
overmatched.
man. They, and I want to go back and I want to really dive into the stats. I want to see, especially during those first 3 quarters, how many passes that Drake May had that were less than 5 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything looked like either a check down or right at the line of scrimmage just to try to get yards. And I mean, and the field goals, I mean, yeah, they were, adding up and being like, okay, we're 1 touchdown and a field goal away, but they weren't even getting in area to even kick a field goal.
No,
They
I
were,
mean
it felt like
it was complete lockdown.
they had to go backwards to go forwards. And then when you're not getting the ball past 10 yards, when you're not throwing past 10 yards, that just makes that defensive line, those linebackers, and even some of them safeties come up, and they were just pounding them with the blitz and just constantly under pressure. I mean, Drake May didn't look comfortable. Even when he threw the touchdown passes, he still didn't look comfortable. And it just,
And that was at the end, and at that point you're just ruining people's squares and betting totals at that point, because I mean once they had scored that first touchdown, the game was well out of hand.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I completely agree. And I was just, I don't know. I like I told you before, man, I said that Seattle defense is just going to do what they need to do.
Yep.
And looking at Drake May's performance, I'm just going to tell you that did not look like a quarterback that had 24 votes for MVP.
He hasn't looked like that. But here's my opinion. I'm not, and I'm, and
I just look at it. You
I,
come into the big game. You have all this hype on you. You should be the MVP. You lost by 1 vote to Matthew Stafford. They talked this guy up all season, and
yes.
he looked mediocre the whole playoffs. There
Some
isn't
people are
one
prisoners of the
game that
moment.
there isn't one moment in this whole playoffs to where you look at him and you're like, this dude is MVP.
Yeah.
How many turnovers this whole this whole postseason did he give up?
Yeah. The sacks as well. And
Yeah,
remember we talked about, what did I say? I said that you could be the recipient of someone else's misfortunes.
yeah,
And I stand by that statement. And this is exactly why I was picking Seattle. And me and you had this breakdown. We had this breakdown last week on Unfiltered. We had the breakdown on our local AM radio show, Truth About Chicago Sports, which will soon be coming to Prime Coverage Sports Network very soon, streaming. So get ready for that. But I said that this team was the recipients of a lot of misfortune, and now they were coming against a team that was too strong
mm-hmm.
and too deep to be upended by any misfortunes. Because if you look at this game, there was a certain point where Jackson Smith and Jigba was hurt.
Yep.
There was a point where the best offensive weapon on their team was hurt, and it didn't matter.
That was a good portion of the third quarter.
It didn't matter. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because the defense at that point was so locked in on that team and punishing them and owning the trenches that the offense knew they just had to do enough. At a certain point, Sam Darnold realized he didn't have to play the same game that he played against the Rams.
Yeah.
This wasn't an offensive shootout. Instead, all I got to do is just do my part. And like I said, if you look at the fourth quarter, that's really when it all picked up because of the desperation from the Patriots, which allowed the Seahawks to then have a lot of advantage situations where they could go short field and score. And then they had a defensive touchdown, the pick six, that ultimately led to where they had 17 points in the fourth quarter. And New England had ended up with 13. Now, juxtapose that, let's say the Seahawks doesn't have that 17 points in the fourth quarter. Do you see now? I understand what New England was trying to do. But like I said, the problem is that once Seattle got that they got that fourth field goal. Once it was 12-0, that changed everything.
Yep.
Then it changed. Now New England was pressed into having to try to put their foot on the gas, and that's when you saw the mistakes happen, and you saw the Seahawks capitalizing. Like I said, a pick six was really to me the pick six was the final. That was the nail in the coffin. I didn't think I didn't think Sam Darnold's touchdown was necessarily a nail in the coffin. I felt like the Sam Darnold's touchdown was like, oh yeah, that you know what I mean, like you're pretty much done for. But the pick six,
oh yeah,
cemented it right there. Because if you take away the pick six, now you're only talking. They still only got 22 points. You score a touchdown. You're 13-22. You're still playing for something out there. You're still grinding. You're probably trying to do onside kicks, whatever you can to try to keep it going. But at that point, it was just it was done. It was done for. And I think that at a certain point, the Patriots felt defeated.
Yeah,
I mean, it really did.
And I think you could really see it even after their first touchdown that they scored. It was like, okay, they started to climb back into it, but it just seemed like it was like a fluke because they got the one catch and then the touchdown right away, only because Wooten wasn't in position right away. And Mac Hollins was able to get a little bit of separation in order to get that catch. It just seemed like they were hoping for some luck or just like a break here and there to happen to where they'd be able to capitalize instead of, just adjusting to this game plan. And it just seemed like they were going for these short out routes just to try to get some separation, but they couldn't. I mean, and then that running game, I mean, Travion Henderson, he had a couple runs here and there, but he just could not get the ball.
They were swallowing him. They were swallowing him. I mean, he didn't stand a chance. He only had 6 carries for 19 yards. And when your running back only gets a chance to carry the ball 6 times, that's telling you right there that your team's getting owned in the trenches. You're not getting no traction. You're not able to extend any drives. On the other side of it, Kenneth Walker III, who great call on your part. Me and you were making our predictions. And, I still stand by my prediction to Demarcus Lawrence because he dominated that game.
Oh, yeah.
He was a savage. And if he could have gotten the finishes to go along with the work that he was doing out there, yeah, he would have got MVP. And I told you I said he's going to play like he's a 23-year-old, this fresh on the field, and he was a savage. He gave one of the performances of a lifetime. And that's usually what happens with an old defensive great that knows this is his moment. This is his shot. They lay it all on the line. And he had a great game, but he was outmatched by Kenneth Walker III, who continued to find a way to find those creases in the Patriots defense. And the Patriots defense did come to play. Like I said, they gave up 4 field goals for 3 quarters. That's an omen considering what was happening to your offense and the lack of traction they were getting. The fact that you had held the Seahawks to 4 field goals at that point was amazing. But Kenneth Walker III couldn't be denied, and he set up a lot of those field goal situations, making big plays, and that was the thing. Whereas that the Patriots couldn't find those adjustments to make, the Seahawks were. The Seahawks say, okay, fine, you're rushing, you're attacking Sam Darnold. He's not able to connect. He only got sacked 1 time, so the line was still able to hold their own, but he wasn't able to connect. He was off. He was 19-38, so he wasn't rolling. He wasn't, hitting the target like you would want a quarterback to hit. But that's also a product of the Patriots defense was on him. But then they made that adjustment where they're like, you know what? Let's just get this ball to Kenneth Walker in space. And once they figured out how to do that, the show was on.
Well, not even in space. I mean, if you watch some of those runs that he made, especially late in the game too, he was one of the most patient running backs that I've ever seen.
Patient. He reminded me of Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, and he watched that hole open up and just would be able to get 6-7 yards here and there. And I mean, even the one commentator I hate watching on TV, Chris Collinsworth.
Oh, your buddy.
Even he said, he goes, man, he is one of the most patient runners back there. He's like sitting down, relaxing, waiting for something to open up, and then hits the hole. And that 4th quarter was proof of that. And I mean, I knew after the LA game when they beat the Rams, I'm like, this dude, this dude is going to be the MVP of the Super Bowl. And I said that 3 weeks ago.
No, you did. You called it. You called it, brother. And I mean, it was just, you know what? But you've been kind of on this hot streak anyway, so I'm not surprised. You've been kind of calling things like on the money with different games and stuff. So I'm not surprised by this. You know, this is just a hot streak you've been on. But you know, like man, I was a no against it because of the fact that there hadn't been a running back to win the MVP since Terrell Davis. That's back when John Elway was playing football. Okay,
Yep.
for people that don't know out there, that was a long time ago. All right, and so that's why I was very hesitant against it. But I'll tell you what, if I was a gambling man, and at that time I wish I was, I should have had put some money down on Kenneth Walker III to win that MVP, and I
Yeah, I wish I
probably would
would
have
have
got a
done it
nice
too.
little penny. I probably got a nice little penny from that, you
Yep.
know. But yeah, I mean, he stepped up, like I said, because you know Jackson Smith and Jigba did get hurt, and that's kind of like a part of the story that's getting left out a little bit. Which is so for people to, you know, when the story is going to get told, why did Kenneth Walker Jr. get MVP and he didn't score a touchdown? It was because he carried the load when their best offensive weapon went down.
Yep.
When their best offensive weapon went down, not to mention he had two big grabs as well for 26 yards. Like those catches were big plays that were needed for the Seahawks to put them in position to get those field goals. He
Yeah.
was the guy that was able to lead pretty much all of those scoring drives. And that's why he got MVP.
Yeah. I mean, and even, you know, I think Cooper Kupp led the team with receptions. I mean, having
Let me
his little
see. Yeah,
resurgence.
Cup
I
Cup
think he had
did. He had
6
six.
catches for
Six for
61
61.
yards. Yeah.
6 for 61. It was Barner, AJ Barner that caught the
The
touchdown,
touchdown.
who had the next most on the team with 4 receptions, 54 yards.
Yeah, I think JSN only had like 27 yards.
That was it.
He did not play a factor in this game, and I
No,
think
it
the
was
way
clear it
that
was clear that he got hurt at some
yeah,
point. I don't know exactly when, but it was
there was
obviously at that point he was a non-factor.
no, there was a tackle where he landed on the back of his head and he had to
Yeah,
come out for a
that's right.
concussion.
He came. They gave him a concussion protocol,
Yeah,
but and see that stuff is always fishy to me because they're like, oh, at least he's back. But he clearly wasn't the same player, and he clearly didn't want to get hit again.
yep,
So that was kind of telling as well, and that was also telling from the team side of it because they were not trying to let him get hit. The ball stopped coming his way
yeah,
at that after that.
and I think the game plan that they had with him. I mean, Christian Gonzalez was playing lights out last night,
Ooh,
and I
if the
think
Patriots had won,
he would have been the
he would have
MVP.
got MVP.
Yep, and I was thinking about that watching the game, and I'm like, and I kind of had I went into it with Kenneth Walker no matter what, but I'm like, well, if the Patriots win, this is the guy that's going to get the MVP. But
Yeah, no, he was on fire, man. I mean, and
yeah,
that like I mean, I know that there's not uh a lot of talk right now currently of there being a um of it being a hold on, I got a little tripped up in my thoughts, but I know, like this story of the Super Bowl, how the narrative of it is going to be a lot of things is going to kind of come out that I feel like are going to get missed, and obviously, like I said, the Patriots, were overmatched. I mean,
hmm
hands down, they were overmatched, but. There was moments where I still felt like the Patriots could have had a chance, and yet it was a non-factor because Seattle was so strong and just had the upper hand through most of the game. And we got comments that's coming in. We got what up, fellas? Wish I could join y'all tonight from On Time Sports Talk. That's our boy Casey. Always great to see you shouting us out, brother. Make sure you guys go and check out On Time Sports Talk. That is every Wednesday, Cal, I believe, right?
yes,
Yes, OTST every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Make sure you check them out. They're a great duo. And that was a terrible Super Bowl, he says. And it wasn't a terrible Super Bowl. Like I said, it just took a long time to get there. It was a slow
hmm
train. It chugged. But in terms of Super Bowl, no, I had a great time with it. I mean, the commercials made me laugh my butt off. I enjoyed pretty much a majority of the commercials. There was a couple that were like, oh God, that's a little weird, and I'm not feeling that at all. But the commercials was great. Halftime show was awesome. I was dancing. My girl was dancing. We were having a great time. Just enjoying the moment. And I felt like the NFL overall gave you a very entertaining product.
Yep.
And that's what it's about. At the end of the day, a Super Bowl is a game, but it's more than the game. It's become an American pastime. It's supposed to have all types of entertainment, chips and thrills with it, pregame performances, national anthem, everything. And you know what? Kudos, great job, great job. The tight end commercial was awesome,
Yep.
awesome. And let me tell you something. Something I could appreciate because that test saved my friend's life, my best friend's life. So no, shout out to the Tias for loosen up your tight end for sure. Like that was good. That was definitely good, man. But yeah, no, like I said, overall, Cal, I enjoyed it. I had a great feast, and man, great spread. Pork nachos.
Oh,
Yeah, I had
nice,
pork
man.
nachos. Yeah, pork
Yep.
nacho chicken wings, some spinach dip, and man, yeah, we were doing it up real nice.
Oh yeah. See, I feel bad, man, because I went back today and I looked over all the comments and all the videos and everything and all the people talking about the main Super Bowl halftime show and the other halftime show. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I didn't watch either one.
Yep,
I was more focused in on I'm just
on
here
the
to watch
game.
the game.
Yep,
And I hated the whole controversy that was going on both ends. It's like the only
I got
thing
no
I
time
could
for it.
yeah, and you know what? The only thing I'll say about it as far as a criticism, and I'm only saying this just because of the artist, I feel like the venue itself would have been the atmosphere would have been a lot different if it was like in Miami or in
Yeah.
LA or New
Oh
York.
yeah.
I mean, I don't really know the Santa Clara demographics that much, but I feel like that would have made more of an impact if he was if it was a game in New York or game in Miami or game in LA.
No,
I think it would have went over well or went
I,
over better if that was the case. And that's the
I
only
think
thing I thought
yeah.
about.
I think sometimes when you're putting these together, you
In no
gotta kind
case, yeah,
of
I'm not a politician.
you got to look at the I think the future of things, right? And just I kind of love that they're doing the handoff thing. But it's like when you're booking artists, like if you're knowing where you're kind of gonna go maybe for the next couple years even, I felt like one, either you have Kendrick Lamar in LA next year, you have Kendrick Lamar in Santa Clara this year, because that's the California connection, that's West
Hmm.
Coast, all that. And then I definitely think that artists should go regional now. uh now if it's a big artist like Kendrick was at that point, and okay, we're gonna go, that's what it's usually about, who's the hardest artist. I think that they choose that more over location. But
Yeah,
I do agree with you. If you line up an artist with the location, uh it's probably going to be a bigger, even bigger celebration, because obviously this now becomes that artist's hometown, and the vibe is fitting with your destination. But I still thought, like I said, I still thought it was an excellent perform it was excellent performance, excellent job. I enjoyed all of it. I mean, but you know what, there's not many times I haven't enjoyed a halftime performance. I know one time, like the weekend, I didn't like that. I wasn't a big fan of Bruno Mars. There's just sometimes when something just doesn't resonate with me. But I watch every halftime show, and I'm gonna call it. If I like it, I'm gonna tell you I like it. And if I don't, I don't. And that's just here on how we are here on Unfiltered Sports. We don't keep nothing watered down. We give it all to you on the real.
yep,
But like I said, the game itself, I could appreciate it. It was the last football game of the season, and you know what? Like I said, the first three quarters were, you're like, okay, what's gonna happen? But then that last quarter, it got really excited. I won some money on some squares. Hey, I'm
good
gonna
job for you.
always take that. Yeah, 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 yeah. So I'm never gonna complain about that. And it was, but it was exactly what we thought it was gonna
Yep,
be. We thought exactly, and I guess that part of it could be viewed as boring for a lot of pundits and fans, is because there wasn't. I mean, the majority of sports media, I think, as well as the country, was picking the Seahawks to win, and it was clear from the opening bell, it was like, yeah, the Seahawks will win the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
Like
and you got to take that whole. You got to take the whole playoff picture. I think, which laid the groundwork for it, coming out the way they did against the Niners, and in the way that they were rolling through the playoffs, and even that shootout with the Rams, you still had it looking like the Seahawks were the better team anyway, and the mediocre, just kind of getting by performance that the Patriots had in their playoff games. It's like there's not a strong team right now in the AFC that would really be able to match up against the Seahawks. And I see a lot of people, only in this chat, but other people that were talking about Josh Allen and the Bills coming in, and that would have been a more entertaining Super Bowl. And
I've seen that a couple comments, right?
I really don't think it would have been, because I think that you have, the Patriots had a pretty strong defense, but I mean, it would have been what, a Josh Allen rushing fest.
Let me ask you this right here: who does the Bills have at wide receiver?
Keon Coleman,
A guy who was suspended most of the season.
Oh, I know.
So yeah, who do they have at tight end? I couldn't even name the guy at the top of my head. I'd have to look it up
Isn't it
to know who their tight end.
end?
Yeah, right. But that just tell you, it doesn't pop. It's not like, oh, a George Kittle. It's not, oh, Mark Andrews. It's not somebody that's making big plays that jumps right to your head when you ask that team, like, who's that team's tight end, and you're just like, oh yeah, that who the Bears tight ends are. It's Cole Kmet. It's Colston Loveland. Who Indianapolis Colts tight end is. It's Tyler Warren. These guys can make plays. My point is that he has no real weapons to throw the ball to. So why would anybody expect it to have been any different of a story than exactly what we saw happen to Drake May? Remember, you cannot take away from what Drake May did in the regular season. He put up MVP stats. He was just one vote away from being the MVP of the league himself, and he went against the best defense in football. Now he squeaked by Houston because Houston had a quarterback that played worse than him.
Yep.
If CJ Stroud had played any competent sense of football, the Patriots would not have been in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
That's just the feel. Like I say, this was a team that benefited from unfortunate circumstances to other teams. They benefited from it. The Broncos wholeheartedly were better. Whether people want to slice, the Broncos were better. The Broncos went against them with a backup quarterback. That is not. Let me tell you something right now. If the Bears had played the Rams and Matthew Stafford wasn't the starting quarterback, I promise you the Bears would have beat them and would have been playing against this team in the NFC Championship. I can promise you that. Like, if you just get these unfortunate circumstances that happen to the other team, you're just the recipient of it, and you can't complain about that. But that doesn't make you the best team in your division, in your conference. And so Josh Allen, no, he doesn't have. He's the same as the page as what we saw with Drake May. He doesn't have enough. He doesn't have enough weapons to be effective against a defense like this. The only team that really would have had a real shot against this defense from the AFC was the Denver Broncos with a healthy Bo Nix.
Yeah, but
they had the defense. They had the defense to match, and Bo Nix. I think his offensive line is a little bit better. I think their running game might have been a little bit better, and I think that Sean Payton is a little bit better of a play caller, in my opinion.
But I think the outcome would have been the same.
Yeah,
because
Seahawks would have still won.
The one thing that always hindered the Broncos most of this season is that their inability to score points. That defense can lock you down, but their offense can't score. And I mean, even going back to that AFC Championship game, that field goal that they didn't go for in the beginning of the game cost them that championship, because it would have been 10-10 in the fourth quarter. And just those little mistakes. And then I go back to now, I feel like this was a really good defensive schemed game on both ends. What the Seahawks did and what the Patriots did in the beginning. I feel like it was a chess match in defense, and you didn't have two coaches going for it on fourth down. And I feel like if our coach would have been in there would have been some fourth down calls that, would have been a little bit questionable. Some of these other teams, like Sean Payton going for it on fourth down because, hey, we're not getting close in the field goal range. We got to do something. I really think that both of these teams really relied on their defense to win this game.
That's exactly what it was. It's like, hey, we're gonna let our defenses, make the stops that they need. We're gonna look for our small little shots. And like I said, Seattle had just enough on their offensive side of the ball they had, like I said, playmakers. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And this completes my statement and submits exactly what I was just saying about Josh Allen, about Drake May. If you don't have enough offensive playmakers on your side of the football, then guess what? When you go up against a great, strong defense, you're not going to be able to do anything. And Seattle had just enough on their side of the football with Kenneth Walker III, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and these guys are, and Sam Darnold himself. Sam Darnold, Sam Darnold is going to get a lot of flack, and I saw a lot of things, arguments, questions. Hey, is he a top 10 quarterback in the league? Blah, 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 this and that. All I can say is this much. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He outplayed Matt Stafford when he needed to outplay Matt Stafford because their defense was not able to stop the Rams. The Rams were giving it to the Seattle Seahawks defense, and you know what? Seattle had to give it back, and they were able to do that. So I'm not gonna take nothing away from this kid. Like I said, now the Super Bowl was different. Jack Smith and Jigba, gets dinged. Now you got to change up your game plan. The Patriots were blitzing like crazy, trying to make sure that Sam Darnold got the ball out of his hand quickly. But he had just enough weapons, and he did his part. He didn't turn the ball over. And that right there is the epitome of game management, knowing the situation and going with it. I have always said, and I will stand by it, and I could, whatever anybody wants to say, is that if the Bears had played Cal Orton instead of Rex Grossman, they win that Super Bowl. Because you don't need, when you got a defense that good, like the Bears defense was, like their special teams was, and that's what's getting left out of the story too. The Seahawks special teams.
Oh, their kicker and their punter.
It's brilliant.
Yes.
And so, when you got a combination like that, the quarterback just doesn't have to get in the way. And that's exactly what Sam Darnold did through the whole playoffs. No turnovers through the whole playoffs. Guess what? Scooby-Doo ain't see no ghost. He ain't see no. Segue there. Yeah, some idiot interrupting me. Oh yeah. Sorry about the technical little blooper. Let's continue on with the show.
You were talking about
like, as I was saying,
show
up. Sam Darnold is in my opinion, I would put Sam Darnold as a top 10 quarterback, even though, like I said, with the team that he was playing with and everything that was happening, I got to give it to the guy, and you got to give him his flowers, man. Your Super Bowl winner, and you know what, he did just enough. And like I said, game managing is important when you got a good defense, and I think you just stay out of their way.
Yeah, and talking about how the Patriots were blitzing.
For our listeners out there, give us 1 second here.
Yeah. You good on your end now?
We're having a little audio issue. We're gonna continue on with the show. I'm gonna come back in here though so we can get this audio issue fixed.
Have we fixed the problem now?
There we go. I got
All right,
you
can you hear
now.
me now?
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
All right. Sorry for the interruptions. As you were explaining about Sam Darnold, because I didn't hear none of that.
Yeah, man. So I was talking about how the Patriots, were blitzing and trying to apply pressure, but you were seeing Sam Darnold being able to get away from that, and not make those mistakes where you look at Drake May and him being under pressure. He was getting swallowed up. He was trying to get away, and then giving up that interception to is it Nwosu for the pick six. I mean, you really saw that maybe Sam Darnold was just one of those quarterbacks that needed time, need to go around the league and find where he's supposed to be. And I think that too many football teams, when they draft quarterbacks high, they want that immediate success. And I feel like he's one of those guys now, looking at him, that maybe he just needed time to fall into the right place.
I love his story. And it's gonna get told a lot, and it needs to. And the reason why his story needs to get told is because I think that a lot of quarterbacks have fallen victim to exactly what happened to Sam Darnold. He's not giving any time. He's coming to an organization that's desperate and begging to have a change, and especially at the quarterback position. We went through this, and we got feel like we got very lucky to have been able to put Caleb with Ben Johnson. And that's something that I think that gets left out, is that coaching, pairing a quarterback with the right coaching is very important. That's why quarterbacks that go and meet up with Kyle Shanahan has success, because he knows how to coach them. And I just think that it's important for a player to be given the chance, especially if you see it. The eye test doesn't lie. And when you see the talent, that means that you got to find the right pairing to get the talent, to get that out of the talent. That was not a lie what we saw from Sam Darnold at USC. We all saw it on display. The talent was there. The guy could make plays. And yet when he got to the NFL, all of a sudden he became, it was Scooby-Doo, and there was no Scooby snacks. And it was like, man, this is not good for him. And so kind of way somebody was able to find him a box of Scooby snacks, and no more seeing ghosts. And
when you get drafted by the Jets, you're already kind of being set up to fail.
You're being set up to fail. And then he goes to Carolina. That was a dumpster fire when he went there. And then he finally went to a competent franchise. and the San Francisco 49ers. Now he goes to another competent franchise, the Minnesota Vikings. You see him produce. You see something come like, wow, this guy's got something. Now he goes from that competent franchise and coaching staff and then goes into another one with the Seattle Seahawks, who from top to bottom have got an excellent build, and they don't get enough love because the fact that they only were able to win that one championship with Russell Wilson. They had a chance to go back to back and Pete Carroll made one of the most
biggest mistakes of a coaching career
I've ever seen in my life. But that team has been right there knocking at the door for the last 20 years. Yep. And here they go. They identify that, okay, you know what? Geno Smith, he wants more money. We necessarily don't want to pay him. We don't necessarily know if he's the guy that can really get us there. Oh, Minnesota's, doesn't want to bring this guy back, even though he's shown nothing but tremendous upside now after learning how to play.
Let's talk about that for a second. Seeing the situation that Minnesota has right now, quarterback, do you feel like, maybe they gave up on him too early because he wanted the money? Or, do you think there's just like, oh, well, we want to go after JJ?
They drafted JJ.
Oh,
and
I know.
That was and when you draft a quarterback, you make mistakes and you put too much loyalty in it because you don't want to say that you wasted that draft pick. Look at what happened in Atlanta. They signed Kirk Cousins, then they turn around in the first round and draft Penix. Now, guess what? Kirk Cousins is being released.
Yep.
So, did Kirk Cousins play bad? Did Kirk Cousins do anything wrong? No. Kirk Cousins was never given a chance because once that quarterback was drafted in the first round, that became the future. That became the focus. And so, therefore, that was the situation that we had in Minnesota. They had drafted J.J. McCarthy, but he was hurt. Sam Darnold was brought in as hey, help us until this kid gets back. And then, you know what? You go wherever you want to go. The plan was never to re-sign him. That's what people got to understand. There was no plan to ever sign Sam Darnold. The only way Sam Darnold would have got re-signed to the Minnesota Vikings, Sam Darnold would have had to won the Super Bowl with the Minnesota Vikings. And even then, they probably still would have been like, well, we drafted this kid, JJ, And so, because when you got a quarterback on a rookie contract that you feel can play at a high level, you're always going to try to go with that rookie contract so that you can add more to your said team. And the funny part about it, though, was that Sam Darnold didn't break the bank. I think Seattle only gave him $38 million. I think Tua makes more than him.
Yeah.
So, it's tough to say, did they make a mistake? I think that they should have looked at it a lot more from the fact of, hey, this guy's in our building.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they should have looked at the fact that J.J. McCarthy is on a rookie contract. He's coming off of an injury. You should have tried to maybe work out something to where Sam Darnold was on a 3-year deal. And if McCarthy started to pop or show, you could have used him as trade, because a quarterback is always a valuable asset to have in the trade market. Out of any player on a football team, if you've got a competent, high-level playing quarterback, you have a trade asset.
Yeah.
Make no mistake about that. Make no mistake about that. Make no mistake about the fact that that's something that I know with my own Chicago Bears team, that don't think for one second that Tyson Bagent isn't a trade asset. Make no mistake, that's why the Bears re-signed him. He's a good backup, sure, but it was deeper than that. If we don't re-sign this guy, another team could just come in and pluck him off the roster. That's not smart. You utilize those pieces. Hey, you know what? He might not never start a game, but he's an asset that we can use to get other players on our roster. And so, Minnesota maybe should have looked at it like that instead of thinking about the $38 million that they were going to have to pay him to get him to stay. And unfortunately, organizations don't view it that way. What they viewed was that we could take the $38 million and we could get this player, get that player, get that player, because we got a quarterback on a rookie contract. It even though Justin Fields had done nothing for his case for the Bears to stick with him, but that was also the major factor in why the Bears he never stood a chance when it came to draft the Caleb Williams because of the contract. Everybody's got to understand that even more than the player playing, because Justin has looked awful with the Jets, but that's the Jets. He didn't look that good with Pittsburgh, but it kind of looked like obviously Tomlinson was on his way, kind of last leg on his way out the door type situation. But when he was with the Bears, considering everything that he had, there was moments where he flashed and he showed some potential. It was like, whoa, you know what, the cupboard's not bare there. But at the same time, the rookie contract. And now, and if we stick with him, we got to make a decision to pay him when we can reset the rookie button, and we got a chance to get a better quarterback. And that's what the Minnesota Vikings bet on. They were betting on that JJ McCarthy was going to be even better than Sam Darnold in their system and on a rookie contract.
Yeah, but I think they made the wrong decision.
Yes. Wholeheartedly. Hey, hindsight, right? Hindsight is a beautiful thing when you can look back on something and say, yeah, but when you're in the moment, you got to make that call. And then if you make that call, and now Sam Darnold is Scooby-Doo again, and now you got to turn to the rookie anyway, which is what you drafted for. Now you're on the hook, like Atlanta, who paid Cousins all that money to sit there on the bench and watch, and then eventually now they look like they have no clue what they're trying to do as a franchise. So at least we see what Minnesota was trying to do. And you know what? I can't get mad at them for that. That they were trying to play a competent chess game in terms of their financial budget and also getting the most out of the quarterback position. It's just, unfortunately, I don't know. You know what? Like JJ next year might come back and he's been injured though too much. That's the problem. He missed his whole rookie. He was injured. He came out this year. He's been injured and banged up. And when we see a healthy kid that actually gets a chance to go through a full preseason training camp, all that stuff, it might be a different story. But right now,
will you ever see a healthy?
Exactly. And that's why I say, so now you got egg on your face. But I understand a franchise choosing the financial route because
I'm not disappointed.
The salary cap is hell.
Minnesota did that, so Minnesota can keep making those kind of decisions,
all day long. And like I say, the salary cap is something crazy. It's also why I make no mistake about there was the question was thrown out there: is Seattle, got the chance to become a dominant dynasty? And I'm gonna say no, because. And the reason why is because of the quarterback. Sam Darnold needs to elevate his quarterback play if this team wants to repeat. Because the defense, guess what? I guarantee they're going to lose somebody. They're not running it back. They're not running it back with all those players. Somebody's coming up as a free agent. Somebody's going to want to get paid. DeMarcus Lawrence might retire.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You don't know until that new roster is set. To try to just say, oh yeah, Seattle, they're gonna no, and here's my proof of that: 85 Bears did not run it back. Now their defensive coordinator left, and that hurt the team. Guess what's happening to Seattle? Their offensive coordinator is leaving. Okay, that's gonna weaken the team. The same.
Kenneth Walker's a free agent.
The Philadelphia Eagles, dominant defense last year. They didn't run it back. They lost the offensive coordinator. They lost some pieces on defense. Didn't run it back. The Ravens, when they won it with Ray Lewis twice, they didn't run it back to back time. They won one time, and then it was a big gap before Ray Lewis was able to get back. Matter of fact, not only a big gap, a different coach that he came back to the Super Bowl with. The Legion of Boom, they were not able to win back to backs. Not even get back to the Super Bowl. In their era. It's a new era of Seahawks that's now back in the Super Bowl. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that vaunted defense, only won one with Warren Sapp leading the way. When it comes to a defense, You can be great in that moment, but to get to that moment, to be great, you need a stellar. You need stellar play from your quarterback. That's what gets you a dynasty started. The Patriots was not a dynasty because of what Bill Belichick was doing on defense. They became a dynasty when Tom Brady ascended as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He was a game manager for that first Super Bowl. That's what they got them that first Super Bowl. But for them to get those next 6 Super Bowl rings, the next 5 Super Bowl rings, because he won one with Tampa, so that gave Tom 7. But to win those next 5 Super Bowl rings, Tom Brady had to elevate his quarterback play, and he did. He elevated his quarterback play to get them to where they could position themselves to win 5 more rings. Patrick Mahomes, same thing with the Chiefs.
Going back to Tom Brady real quick, the best team that he had assembled, he didn't win.
They didn't make, and now granted they were in the Super Bowl though, so I'm not going to take away from that team.
No, but I'm talking about getting the ring though. The ring.
But I'm not going to take away from that team, man, because that was a look. If anybody was going to predict that a dude was going to catch a ball in his helmet to help beat that team, like, come on, like, I'm not going to take away from that team whatsoever. Like, man, you lost to the flukiest of flukiest plays. And remember, Eli was under pressure. He just threw the ball up for grabs. There was no, he didn't throw a dart. So that guy literally, David Tyree caught the ball on his helmet, going up against another defender. That could have easily have been picked off. So, I mean, yeah, they didn't win it that year, but they still were there. And if you get credit for that. You get credit for making a Super Bowl, because guess what? There's only 2 teams that can do it each year. And I'm not going to take credit from the other team that did it. Like, that's why I'm not going to take credit away from the Patriots by saying that the Bills would have been a more entertaining show. Because guess what? Josh Allen had his moment. He had his chance. And he wet the bed. He could have been in the Super Bowl. Why wasn't he? Because he wet the bed. And don't tell me about what his team didn't do when a quarterback turns the ball over 4 times.
Yep, and this was his year. This was
bed.
The red carpet was laid out for him. None of his adversaries were in it. It was up for him to have it, and he didn't get it. And so that's why I say, if the Seattle Seahawks are going to keep a dominance, Sam Darnold will have to elevate his play, and that's why it's hard when people, is he top 10? He played like it at certain moments in the playoffs. He played like it at certain moments in the season. But for the most part, there's 32 teams in the NFL. He played like a middle of the road quarterback. He didn't play like the bottom half quarterback. He didn't play like the upper echelon. I guess he's not top 10. He's top 20. He's top 15. Let's just say he's top 15 in the league. I mean, because I'm sorry, but you cannot tell me that you wouldn't take Matthew Stafford, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Caleb Williams. I'd even throw Jordan Love in this conversation. Now I'm up to 7 right there. Okay, I'm already up to 7. All right. Would you take Jared Goff over him?
We could. You know what? I probably would, because I've seen Goff really get hot and make big plays and put up big numbers in tough situations. Okay. Jake Daniels, I don't know. Jake Daniels, I don't know. You know what I mean? A healthy Jake Daniels, he does look very scary. Brock Purdy has played excellent in what he's had, and especially with all the injuries around him. Now Brock Purdy's got a little bit of the turnover issue, but so do some of these quarterbacks that I've already listed as well. Jalen Hurts who's won a Super Bowl, been in 2 Super Bowls, won one and barely lost the other one to the great Patrick Mahomes. Once again, that's a guy I'm forgetting because Patrick's hurt. Patrick Mahomes, that's 11. That's 11 now that I've listened. You can't tell me you wouldn't take Patrick Mahomes over Sam Darnold. No freaking way. In a heartbeat, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes probably over all these quarterbacks, honestly. So right there, we've already listed 12 quarterbacks that we feel are better than Sam Darnold.
I'll throw 2 more at you. Dak?
I think so.
And then, I just lost his Tampa Bay.
Oh, Mayfield. That one, They were drafted in the same class, right? Just like Lamar and Josh. The difference is why I give Lamar and Josh the nod, because they got MVPs through a season, which means they've been scintillating. Baker has played really good. He's had flashes. He was even an MVP candidate the early part of the season. I don't know how much injuries came to play because he was dinged. I don't know if that's just, also too talent. Maybe once people start to figure you out. I would take Sam Darnold over Baker because Sam Darnold's winning, and Baker is not. I'm taking Sam Darnold now. Like I said, is that fair? When you put the teams in the totality, obviously Seattle's defense is way more formidable, and this year Baker had injuries to his wide receivers, to his running backs, to himself. So I'm just going off of my eye test, what I see that Sam Darnold does as opposed to Mayfield. I'm gonna give the slight nod to Darnold over Mayfield, but that's still putting Darnold in the top 15.
Mm-hmm. Well, what if you put Justin Herbert behind a healthy offensive line?
Herbert, am I taking Herbert over Darnold? Let me actually see. The reason why I can say someone like from Caleb Williams, we've seen the special from him, like special to the point where it's like, whoa, that's only Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes can make that play. Or did, to the point where it's like, whoa, maybe only Patrick Mahomes might only be the only quarterback that could have made that play. We have never made those statements about Justin Herbert. And Justin Herbert's been in the league now. He's a veteran now. He's been in the league. He's gone through 2 coaches. He's on his second coach. And yet this is another guy. Injuries seem to have kind of find him every year. And it's always at the worst time. So it's always at the end of the season, seems for him. He's always dinged up at the worst time. I'm not going to put him over Sam Darnold because Sam Darnold has proven now back-to-back 2 years, and health. Attrition is a part of this, man. And Sam Darnold was healthy for the run with Minnesota. He was healthy for this year all the way through with the Seahawks. I think attrition is a part of it, and how you perform and big moments. And Justin Herbert has come up very small in the playoffs. He has no MVPs attached to his name. I don't think he's even got enough. I don't think he's got a passing where he's led the league in passing yards or passing touchdowns or anything of that nature. So no, I'm going to give it to the guy that just won a Super Bowl.
Okay, I agree with you on that one. I just think that he has, I'll go back to Herbert for a second, just because I like, the Chargers. I just think that with a healthy offensive line and a good, non-throwing.
Oh, he's surgical.
Yeah. I just think there's something about him where I would be kind of on the fence of, well, how good is that line? Is that line going to protect for him? Because then I might be able to, put the nod over, because then he has the more athleticism. He's able to get away,
and he's got a good arm. Like if we switched quarterbacks, you put Justin Herbert on the Philadelphia Eagles and put Jalen Hurts on the Chargers, I think that we're having kind of the same conversation of, hey, should we be talking about Jalen Hurts? Like, what if Jalen Hurts had a better offensive line? And so I'm not throwing Justin Herbert out of the top 15 because, like I said, we've still that gives us 14 quarterbacks right there that we've listed, and I'm putting Sam Darnold at 12, Baker Mayfield at 13, Herbert at 14, and rank them however you feel. I'm just saying that 1 through 15, I think that these quarterbacks can put a team in position to where you can win a Super Bowl if you got one of these 15 quarterbacks on your team. They give you that opportunity, they give you that ability to be able to say, I've got a chance. And was Sam Darnold in that 15 2 years ago? Nope. He wasn't even thought about. And that's what makes his story so impressive. But like I say, if the Seattle Seahawks want to repeat, or they want to get back to that mountaintop, let's say in a 3-year window, right? Let's say if you win a Super Bowl, to prove that you got something cooking, you need to get back again in a 3-year window. That's what the Chiefs did. That's what the Patriots did. You need to get back in the 3-year window. Could the Seattle Seahawks get back in a 3-year window? Yes, but Sam Darnold is going to have to go and become a top 5 quarterback in the league.
Okay. And they need to bring back Kenneth Walker.
Well, the Super Bowl MVP, man. I think you're crazy if you don't. I know that there's a bunch of anti running back in the NFL communities, in the sports communities. You know, oh, you don't need to pay running backs anymore. You don't need to draft running backs high anymore. Blah blah blah. Look, when you got a guy that can win games for you, a guy that can become your bell cow in the biggest moments, man, you're crazy if you let him go play for another team. New York Giants, Saquon Barkley. So, yeah, learn from the mistakes of others and know how to insulate your franchise. I know we normally take a break right now at this time, so we're just gonna do that real quick. Also, all of our followers out there, stay with us. Sorry for the earlier interruption. We do apologize for that. You know, sometimes how tech is, it ain't the best, but you know what? We kept it rolling for you guys because that's how we do it on Unfiltered Sports. So keep locked in, and we're gonna be back in one quick minute. Welcome back to Prime Coverage Sports Network, Unfiltered Sports with Mac and Cal every Monday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And for our people out on the West Coast, that's 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Stay locked in every Monday. And if you miss us, you can go check us out on Spotify, where all shows are streamed. Make sure you check out all of Prime Coverage Sports Network Monday through Sunday. We're popping something every day because that's how we do here on Prime Coverage Sports Network, PCSN. Stay locked in. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you go and subscribe to our Spotify. We got nothing but some of the best working in this game. And if you don't like all that corporate content, ooh, this is the place to go because we giving y'all nothing but the real unfiltered sports. Man, Cal, wow, that, you know what? I love that breakdown. We just had a great segment there. And let's keep it rolling. I know we're gonna have a guest, and we're gonna have a guest coming up in another 30 minutes. It's gonna be Brother Andrew Scheid is going to be joining us to break down and recap the Super Bowl as well. But in the meantime, let's just keep this train rolling. What's then, like we already kind of started on the what's next for Seattle in terms of if they want to repeat. Sam Darnold is going to have to elevate himself to a top 5 quarterback, I believe, in the league. They've also got to find a way to try to keep the core of that defense together. I think that is going to be one of the most obvious and important parts because that's what won you the championship. Like you said, definitely Kenneth Walker III. I don't even think that should be even a conversation. If that guy's not re-signed, if that guy's not paid, if you don't make sure that guy stays on your team, you don't want to run it back. You don't want to stay in that championship window because he led that charge from the beginning of the season, literally until the end. Yeah. But what's next for the Patriots? The Patriots, you know, usually the crazy part about it, it's a real stat, but like majority of the time, the team that loses the Super Bowl doesn't even make it back to the playoffs. And that came into its ugly head again this season when the Kansas City Chiefs didn't make the playoffs. Yep. So, you know, as much as everyone wants to say, oh man, Drake May's got a bright career, he's got a bright future. Dan Marino only made it to Super Bowl once, and he lost to the 49ers. He never made it back again. So this is very tricky for Drake May, because this could be your swan song moment. Steve McNair only got to the Super Bowl once. He lost, never got back again. A great quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterback. Donovan McNabb got to the Super Bowl, lost, never got back again. People are still waiting on Joe Burrow to get back there after he lost. I mean, I'm just being real.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You know, there's only like, I mean, there's no Jim Kelly's lying around here where you can just go to Super Bowl back to back to back after losing. It doesn't work that way. So for everyone to just sit and think, oh yeah, man, the Patriots they're ahead of schedule and they're gonna go to the Super Bowl and they're gonna be back. This is exactly why I didn't want the Bears to go to the Super Bowl, because I knew that they would lose. And I didn't want that now. I didn't want that stench on them, because it is very hard for some reason. It's very hard for the Super Bowl champion to get up off the mat because of the champagne hangover. And it's very hard for the loser to get off the mat because of the deflating feeling of getting to that mountaintop and not being able to complete it. What the Patriots need to do is, well, they just got to gain more experience. I mean, they got to hope that Campbell is the answer at left tackle, and this was just a rookie that was overwhelmed and not.
Well, they had two rookies on the left side of that offensive line. You got
to hope that was more of a learning lesson than as opposed to that's their ceiling. And I've seen this from some players where it's like, you know what, that's just as good as that guy's gonna get, and he's not gonna get any better. And now you gotta, so now you got a you got a harder conversation to have. Luke Campbell was a first round draft pick, very high draft pick. So he's definitely gonna have to live up to. I mean, when you're drafted that high at left tackle, they're pretty much expecting you to be a Pro Bowl player.
Yeah.
And a perennial bookend, right there on that left side. And he looked overmatched. He looked like a rookie, a deer in headlights. So they're gonna need him to elevate him. So he is gonna have to go and get in the lab and get to the Pro Bowl level. First off, same with the left guard that was right next to him. That young kid was getting beasted. I mean, there was one, he literally got shoved back into Drake May for a second. Like, he's gonna have to go and he's gonna have to get in the lab, get better. Then you got to get Drake May some weapons, man.
Yes, I think that's the biggest thing, is bringing in young weapons,
young guys that can make big plays on the edge. See, I really was trying to figure out what was going on in Chicago when they made all their draft picks. Like, what are you doing? You're getting all this offensive guy. But now I'm starting to understand that you need to surround a young quarterback with weapons. You just do. And even if you got to sacrifice a little bit on defense for a second to try to get your team right, you got to surround a young quarterback with weapons. And the Patriots chose to go the opposite route of that. They surrounded him with what they felt was a very competent team, a very good defense, but no weapons. And that's what look, I think TreVeyon Henderson is a star. I think TreVeyon Henderson is going to be a very good running back. And I think TreVeyon Henderson was overwhelmed as a rookie in the Super Bowl by a superior defense. But I think TreVeyon Henderson has good upside. And so that's a weapon right there. But you got to get him you either got to get him some speed that can stretch the field, or you got to get him a guy that's a possession monster, like an Amon St. Brown. That's just going to catch the ball and get those yak yards for you all day long. And they need a tight end also. I'm sorry. They need a tight end.
Yeah.
Hunter Henry is not it. I mean, he can make some plays for you here and there, but you saw how invisible he was last night. If you had you got to find somebody like a young Travis Kelce, not this version now, a George Kittle type, the kid that's in the Raiders, Bowers.
Brock Bowers.
Bowers. You got to find somebody like that for this kid. You get him. I mean, like I said, if you get him that, you might not even need to get a bunch of guys on the edge. You got Stephon Diggs. You maybe add another decent slot receiver. If you go get him like a dominant tight end, I think that you see him be able. I think you see this team be able to sustain itself and be able to fight back to get to the Super Bowl. Because this version of them right now, and the fact that their schedule is going to be way different next year. They're going to have a much harder schedule. I didn't see enough from that offensive line and from Drake May to be convinced that they're going to be able to run it back or even be in the conversation for Super Bowl contention. I think that they're going to run into some hard times next season. And remember that now you got a mark on you. Everybody's gunning for you because you were that team that made the Super Bowl. Everybody's going to use you as their measuring stick. Well, they made it to the Super Bowl last year. So if they made the Super Bowl, hey, I got to bring my best. And so I honestly, with the AFC, how it's growing, how I see that, talent is getting better, in terms of what people are putting around the best quarterbacks in that conference. I have no doubt that with the new coach, the Buffalo Bills are going to be extremely hungry, extremely motivated. I think that Josh Allen, the way he played in his last playoff game, I think he's going to get in the lab. He's going to come back more with a more desired focus to get in the Super Bowl, try to make that happen. You're going to have to deal with a healthy Lamar Jackson that had a complete dumpster fire, and it was obviously a failed relationship with him and John Harbaugh, and that cost the team. And so I think that now they're bringing in with a new coach, and from what I understand, him and Lamar already have a very special chemistry, unique relationship. So we're going to see that team really come back, really press. This Houston Texans, they're going to be healthy. CJ Stroud needs an offensive line in front of him, but he's also got to play better himself. And you know what? Lightning in the bottle, man, can happen. We saw with Eli Manning twice. With a great defense, all the quarterbacks got to do is enough. And CJ Stroud has that talent to be able to do what's necessary, the prerequisite to help get that team to the big game. So I'm look at the
Jacksonville Jaguars, man.
Yeah, Duval. Okay, he seemed to resurrect Trevor Lawrence. And that, we totally forgot about him. But I'm not going to Ella because I know Trevor struggled a few years. But remember when he was drafted out of college, the upside, everyone said that this kid was the next one. And you know what? There was a lot of moments this season where Liam Cohen had him out there looking real good. So I'm not going to put him top 15 yet. But he's definitely in the top 20.
Oh, yeah.
He could have that chance of climbing up. So, the Jaguars are definitely going to be contenders next year. So I'm not picking the Patriots to go back to the Super Bowl. And I know that sounds harsh, but I'm not.
I don't see it either, man. I just think that, and we said it, I don't know how many times, they kind of got, a lot of breaks throughout this season. Because then you're going to have you got most of the.
We forgot the Denver Broncos.
The Denver Broncos are coming back too, So I just feel like you're going to have a lot of teams who have something more to prove.
Yep.
And are going to be that much more hungrier. And now they've seen 2 years of tape on Drake May.
Yep.
And if New England doesn't bring any other offensive weapons in and they just try to roll this team back, I mean, you can't have Stephon Diggs try to do everything. What's his name? Malik Hollis. Like, I don't even really know that guy. He's a little weird. He showed up in a prison uniform yesterday with
what's his name? The guy's Booty. Is that his name?
Yeah,
Booty.
Like he shows moments, but he's not consistent. I don't even remember even hearing his name yesterday.
Nope, shut down.
So I mean, you got that. If they don't bring anything to complement any of this stuff, they're not going to go back. I mean, you got too many hungry teams that lost in the way that they lost in the playoffs that want to come back, and you don't even know what is in store with the Chiefs on what they have.
Exactly, Mahomes. He's coming back now. Now, he's not probably going to be available at the beginning of the season, but at some point he's getting back out there. He's going to try to get back in. That team's going to try to toe the line to hold it to where he get back so they can make a playoff push. Because make no mistake about it, they believe as long as they got Patrick Mahomes on that team, that they have a chance, and rightfully so they do. And they've proven that already multiple seasons. So I can't discredit them or push them out the picture at all. I think that if I'm the Patriots, and this is just me, but if I'm the New England Patriots, I'm trying to go out and get one of these nasty defensive ends to add to my already really good defense, to now turn my defense into a great defense and be just as devastating as that Seattle defense that I just went against. Yep. Because that was the one thing, like I say, Seattle was able to make just enough plays, that their offensive line was able to hold off the Patriots enough, and the Patriots don't have any real dogs in that trenches. They got some good players in that trenches, and I believe that their defense is a product of scheme more than talent. Mike Vrabel is a really good defensive coach. He's the head coach, but he's really good at the defensive side of that football, and he knows how to scheme. He learned that from Bill Belichick. He's got that down pat, and I think that if you give him like what Green Bay went out and did and got a Micah Parsons, and you add that to your defense, you have a great chance to return. Because I do give a lot of flowers to Tom Brady, but we do got to remember that there was guys in the Hall of Fame, Ty Law, Willie McGinnis, Mike Vrabel was not in the Hall of Fame, but was a fantastic player. Teddy Bruschi, the defense was stacked. Rodney Harrison, the defense was stacked, man.
Vince Wilfork.
You know what I'm saying? Vince Wilfork, another guy that's Hall of Fame or going to be in the Hall of Fame. The defense was stacked. Okay. Richard, I forgot Richard Seymour. Seymour, that defense was stacked. So, and these guys are in the Hall of Fame. So, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm the Patriots and you want to have a legitimate shot, you just can't try to rely on Drake May to continue to play at this MVP. That was the mistake that the Dolphins made. They just continue to rely on Dan Marino to play at this MVP level every year, and that's going to be enough to get us over the hump. Let's give them a few weapons. And you can great a quarterback as you have. It has to be a complete team. It has to be as great as Patrick Mahomes has been. We have seen Patrick Mahomes lose in the Super Bowl twice when the team wasn't complete. When he didn't have the complete team around him, he lost. Yep. You got to have a complete team around you to help push you over the top. And if you got too much infighting, if you got too much leaky holes on your defensive side of football, on your offensive side of football, they come rearing their ugly heads in the biggest moments. And so, it's imperative that as an organization, if you want to be that team that continues to put yourself in that conversation for whether I'm a Super Bowl contender, where I'm knocking on that door, you got to make sure you got a complete team. And right now, the Patriots do not have a complete team.
Nope, not at all. But now going back on the other side, do you think that Seattle will have a complete team
next year?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Like I said, we got to see what happens in free agency, who they lose, but they could address that in the draft. And they've already shown that they have the ability to identify, because they drafted an excellent player in the secondary this year. And look at this kid. He became something special for them. So you're going to probably lose some guys, that free agency that happens. But if you know how to work your draft just right, and your own free agency capital that you'll have to play with, you have a big shot at running back. Because I know that because the core of the team is staying together. They're not It's not like they're losing Jackson Smith and Jigba. It's not like they're losing Kenneth Walker, Sam Darnold. Like I said, DeMarcus Lawrence might retire, but I don't think they're losing any of their other guys on the defensive line. They're not. I don't think they're losing anybody that would, any major player in the secondary. So therefore, the guys that they lose, those pieces I think can be supplemented and replaced if you do it the right way. And so, like I said, for me with Seattle, it just comes down to Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is going to have to, because teams are going to be gunning for you now. You're the hunted. You're the Super Bowl champion. You're the hunted. So, and you've got low draft picks. And so you got to know how to play with it. You got to know how to play with all of that. And so if you can do it, if you can set yourself up the right way, and like I said, if Sam Darnold is able to elevate himself into that top 5 category, Seattle is going to be very, very tough. And they could have the potential to run it back next year.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think their biggest, as far as going into next season, they have to sign Kenneth Walker again. I think he's proved way more than enough that he's the guy. And then you have Zach Charbonnet coming back off an injury, which will help be another complimentary back. Even though, is it Milani or Hulani? He did pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah, he did pretty good filling in for roles when he needed to. But I also think they need another wide receiver. I know they got Rashid Shaheed, but he didn't make that much of an impact. And I think Cooper Kupp, this might be his, saying goodbye. I got another Super Bowl to, go into the sunset. I think they need to bring in another wide receiver as well.
Oh yeah, you got to offset Jackson Smith and Jigba with the second guy, because you saw what happened when Jackson Smith and Jigba got dinged up. When he got dinged up, Cooper Kupp did his best to step up, but it was he's a shell of himself of what he once was, and let's just call that what that is. So it'd be very wise to pair Jackson Smith with another guy that can make plays, they can be effective. That the best team, like I say, you were able to get away with it this year, and it made you complete, but you're not going to be complete next year going into, because now people are going to simply say that they're going to simply shut down that side with Jackson Smith. They're going to dare you to have to beat them with another playmaker, and you need to have that, because they're already going to know that your number 2 guy is Kenneth Walker the third. So there's no more fooling people with that. So you're going to need to pair up to have a third playmaker on that team to offset and be able to catch people off guard.
Yep. So who do you think out of the NFC has a good opportunity to really make a run for it next year? Aside from our team. Aside from our team.
Aside from the Bears, I mean, which we know they're contenders. The Super Bowl contenders for next year for the NFC, in my opinion, it's going to be Green Bay. Green Bay is going to have somebody you have to pay attention to. Marcus Parsons is going to come back at some point. I don't know if he's going to come back to start the season with that knee injury, but eventually he is going to come back, and he's going to be healthy, and he's going to be playing with a massive chip on the shoulder, and he's going to be looking for blood. And that team was different when Micah Parsons was on the field. So I'm looking at them. Detroit had a very down season, lackluster season, because of all of the changes that happened on their coaching staff. But now that they've got those things stabilized, I definitely expect Detroit to have a better season than they did this year when they were 9-8. I definitely see them being a contender. I'm not going to take anything away from Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia still has an excellent team. They just got to stop all the infighting. All the infighting is just what destroys this team. Between them fighting with the coach, AJ Brown fighting with the whole team, like they just got to stop all the infighting, because they're a Super Bowl contender. Dallas, no. I don't see it from Dallas, because Dallas has got their defense is decimated after letting go of Micah Parsons. They have to hope that they get lucky in the draft and they can draft a Micah Parsons type player again on that defensive line. Maybe that changes that story, because their offense is fantastic. They have an absolutely fabulous offense with George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb. The running back position is solid. Dak Prescott is like we said, top 15 quarterback, but the defense has just become it never has really been. Even when Micah Parsons was there was still too many holes. That's why DeMarcus Lawrence left. If you remember in the interview, DeMarcus Lawrence said, "I love Dallas. My home is there, my kids with it, but I'm not winning a championship at Dallas." And that's because he was talking about the defensive side of the ball, not the offensive side of the ball. So if they got to fix that. If they fix that, we can revisit. But right now, I'm not saying that they're a contender. Jaden Daniels, healthy, got to see it. Haven't seen it. So I'm not picking Washington either. I think that somebody that we are going to have to really watch out for is Tampa Bay. I think that a healthy Baker Mayfield, with that whole team being healthy, Todd Bowles has Super Bowl coaching experience. I think that that could be a team that could really creep up on people. I think that their division is not that strong. I think Carolina is still going to make some noise, but I think that I think Atlanta can make real separation from them. Atlanta's got a new coach. New Orleans still doesn't have a quarterback, in my opinion. And so, you have a real chance there to really take control of that division. And if you're able to take control of that division, now you might be able to be talking about where you put yourself in a position to where you're the number 2, maybe number 1 or number 3 seed, and that makes a huge difference. If we saw with Seattle, as dominant as Seattle was, make no mistake about it, having the number 1 seed made a huge difference.
Oh yeah,
huge difference. You know what I mean? A huge difference. And so, I think that if you gave the LA Rams, you flip around, you get the LA Rams number 1 seed, we might be having a different story. We might have had a different play. We might have had a different team in the Super Bowl. So, putting yourself in that number 1 position, and Tampa Bay might have a shot because their division is so bad. If they get their draft picks right, if they get their free agency right, Tampa Bay could really be a team to watch out for and make some noise. And then obviously you just can't discredit San Francisco, who people I don't know how people really are not paying attention to the fact that they still won 12 games and only had 5 losses with all of the injuries on their team, with the fact that Brock Purdy was busted up at 1.2 as well. They still were tied with the Rams for record in their own division. So
Mac Jones, he was even coming through.
Them. So you're crazy if you don't with Kyle Shanahan being one of the best coaches in the NFL, say that the San Francisco 49ers are still Super Bowl contenders. So those are my picks right there. I've got the Eagles, I've got Bears, Packers, Detroit, Tampa Bay, and the 49ers are the 6 teams that I feel like are can threaten Seattle, and obviously the LA Rams. I didn't throw them out. I thought that was obvious, but maybe I do need to say it just for the average fan, not the deep dogs like us. So yeah, no, it is it's something that man, I tell you, I really think that the parity in the NFL is working. It's working well, and we're seeing. I love the fact that we could say that there's 7 teams that could compete for the NFC title next year. Looking in the AFC, New England, Buffalo, Baltimore, Jacksonville, Houston, and Denver. Should we say the Chargers?
See, that's tricky, man, because
that's tricky.
My biggest thing with them is that offensive line.
Yeah, I got it before I give them anything.
They have Pro Bowl talent on that offensive line, but they just can't be healthy.
Yeah,
they can stay healthy. That makes them a high contender for the AFC West.
Yeah, and you know what? Herbert's got to stay healthy. Yeah, Herbert's got to stay healthy also. And so
Marion Hampton needs to show why he was a first-round draft pick.
Yeah. So I'll give them the 7th. I'll give them 17 pass for now. The reason why I'm not putting Kansas City in that conversation because I don't think Patrick's going to be healthy to start the season. I don't think the knee's going to be ready, and I don't think that the Patriots. I don't think that the Chiefs are rushing him back at all. They're going to take their time with this. They know how special he is. They know what the things that they're able to accomplish when he's healthy and in the lineup ready to go. So I think Kansas City will gladly just sit back, and if they can make the playoffs and get him in late, they're gonna be happy with that. But if for some reason they come up short and they end up with another high draft pick to pair with him, I don't think they're gonna complain because They were in. They literally were in this. They were literally in the Super Bowl and the conference championship for like what 6 straight years.
Yeah,
something like that. So, to get your quarterback right, to get everything back equal again, get an influx of young talent on that team. If they end up basically kind of having a pooch season next year, meaning not necessarily they're tanking and throwing it away, but they just know, hey, my starting quarterback's not ready yet, so we're gonna play good
you saw
football
what
and
those
just hold the
backup
line.
quarterbacks. You saw what the backup quarterbacks did for them.
Mm-hmm.
It was not anywhere near Kansas City Chiefs football.
No, it was not. And so, that's why I say, I'm not I want to give it to him. I do. I want to give it to him, Cal, but I need to see more. I need to see more before I say, oh, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be competing or Super Bowl contender again. I'm going to need to see you to ask him, give him some young weapons, some young pieces around him, and I need to see him come back healthy, ready to go. Because once he is, though, like, make no mistake about it, the moment that he is, oh, I'm in. I'm in. I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm like, yep. We're this is it. They're back on their run. You know what I mean? But until then, it's not happening. I'm not willing to go. I'm not strong enough to go out on that limb for the Chiefs. What's the name? We got Andrew. Did Andrew join us yet or no?
I'm about to check in with him to see what's going on.
No problem. So while we're waiting on our guest to get him to join in, we want to thank everyone that has been watching the show, or we'll go back and watch replay and get our recap. Once again, this is Unfiltered Sports here on Prime Cover Sports Network. Every Monday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time, Eastern Time, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And on the West Coast, we got 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Make sure you check us out every Monday here on the Prime Cover Sports Network channel on YouTube, where we live stream. And if you missed the live stream, or you just can't watch the live stream, or you just don't want to feel like listening to the live stream or the replay on YouTube, maybe you got YouTube issues. I don't know. Some people do. Guess what? We got Spotify podcast account. All you got to do is go to Spotify and just go to Prime Cover Sports Network, and you'll see Unfiltered Sports with Mac and Cal and big bold letters, and you just hit the play button, and you can listen to us all day long, break down sports, baby, because that's what we do. And if you don't get enough of us on Monday, then we run it back again on the weekend with our local sports show, Truth About Chicago Sports, every Saturday. So make sure you check that out. Like I said, that's going to be coming to Prime Cover Sports Network real soon. We'll be letting you guys know, so stay tuned for that announcement as well. But we've got just a recap of what we've talked about so far. We've broke down the Super Bowl recap of the game itself, what's to expect for the next teams, what each team needs to do to try to make sure they can get back to that mountaintop. And so far, we've been covering and talking about teams that we feel are going to be their competitors next year, that they're going to be looking to try to make that push for a Super Bowl. And then, of course, there's always can be the weird dark horse, because if anyone had told me last year that the Patriots were going to be in the Super Bowl this year, I would have looked at you and said, wait, the team that only won 4 games? You're crazy. The team that just fired their head coach after his first year of coaching, I don't know about that. So, could I be shocked that the New Orleans Saints is in the Super Bowl? No.
Well, I mean, you're bringing up a good point about, rookie head coaches and things that could happen. I mean, there was a coach on that Seattle team that confirmed his job going to Vegas and coming in with some decent draft capital and some bright stars that just need a quarterback.
Couldn't Vegas had that weird turnaround, right? It could be Vegas.
And that little bit of a change kind of change the Max Crosby trade forecast?
Let's look at it this way. Let's say they don't trade him. Let's say they don't trade Max Crosby.
Kubiak coming into the building, drafting Mendoza, drafting some other pieces that are coming around, and establishing that kind of belief and culture that he's looking for. Do you think that maybe Max is like, I don't want to go nowhere?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's just it. So if you keep Crosby, now you make the right moves in free agency. You draft well around Mendoza, because I'm pretty much convinced that Mendoza is who they're going to draft the number 1 pick.
Yep.
You've got a bell cow at running back at Genty. You've got a very special player in Brock Bowers. You give him another weapon at wide receiver, which you can which you can find in the draft, and you can find wide receivers deep in the draft. So it's not like they got to draft the quarterback second round. We got to draft the running. They could go second round and then turn around and make sure that offensive line is shored up. You don't need a defensive beast because you have one in your warehouse. So now if you decide to position him for extra draft capital, I'm not going to get mad at you. But if you decide to keep that guy and add around it, make no mistake about it, we could be talking about the Las Vegas Raiders the way we're talking about the New England Patriots right now today. And I know people are probably thinking, oh, that's crazy. No, it's not. If Mendoza has a good skill set, if he's a competent quarterback that can play in the NFL, you bringing in a young offensive mind that has shown his ability to be able to get the best out of limited quarterbacks. Look at the job he did with Geno Smith. Look at the job he's done with Sam Darnold. If Mendoza could come in and play at some type of a high level, even though he's a rookie, we could see a big turnaround in that Raiders organization.
Oh yeah, and you're coming in with different skill sets too. I mean, Geno was a couple of years too late. Sam is more of your pocket style quarterback, but then you get Mendoza, who is tall, can chuck the rock, but can also run too. I mean, you're opening up a whole different kind of scheme that I don't think Vegas has really had in a long time.
Yeah, no, you are. You're giving the one thing that we've learned in the NFL, what is going to make your offense unique is being that you can create matchup nightmares. You can create that with Brock Bowers. You can create that with Genty with the rock in his hand out the backfield or catching it at open space. Now you give like we said, you give yourself some more play, at least one playmaker, a wide receiver. And if Mendoza is got a good skill set, meaning that he's accurate, he can throw a good deep ball, and he can play under pressure. Those are the 3 prerequisite skill sets to be a good quarterback in the NFL. Rocket arms, all that stuff, that's a bonus. That's a bonus. You accurate, you got to be able to throw under the rest. Okay, those 2 right there are imperative if you want to be a good quarterback, because the pockets are going to be muddy. These guys, you're going against elite athlete, you're going against special talents, and so you are most definitely going to have to be able to put the football where it's supposed to be put, and you're going to have to be able to do that when you got large defenders flying around you.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder, because I think that Mendoza has the ability to do very well in the NFL, but I just feel like the way that Indiana played was a little bit too easy for him.
Yeah,
and I want to see what he's able to do at the next level with a little bit higher difficulty. And I'm gonna actually, speaking of that, we'll bring in our guest Andrew right now.
Oh yeah!
Hey Marcus, hey Kyle, what's going on, guys?
How's it going?
What's up, Andrew?
On my ride home, just finished up Big Top Sports with Derek.
There you go, Big Top Sports on WRMN 1410 AM. That is the home of me and Kyle's local show, The Truth About Chicago Sports, as well. Make sure you guys always go and show a little love to WRMN 1410 AM. Yeah, we're just sitting there breaking down the Super Bowl. Brother Andrew, give us your thoughts on the Super Bowl. What was your overall thoughts of it?
You know what? And yes, it was back at Pop Warner, but you're talking to a former defensive player. So me, honestly, I loved watching that defensive battle. But as the Super Bowl in general, we always wanted to see a little action, and obviously we didn't see that last night. But if you love defensive football, man, that was the game for you.
It's exactly what I said.
I agree. It was excellent showing. from the team. And it's like it's overall entertaining, and I was pleased. I was pleased with it, and just production wise, everything. I thought it was just great, and like I said, the story and a great storyline at the end of the day. The storyline of everyone. I mean, the storyline of their defense, the storyline of their coach. This young coach that gets picked up from the Baltimore Ravens as a defensive coach when the NFL is all about offense, offense, offense now, where we see guys, from Sean McVay being hired to now the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator being hired by the Las Vegas Raiders to Ben Johnson being hired by the Chicago Bears. Liam Cohen being hired by the Jacksonville Jaguars. It seems like that the NFL is just trying to find that next Sean McVay, that use that next genius on the offensive side of football, and that's led to some hirings like we saw with Miami hiring Mike McDaniel, where it's just, this got to find this offensive guy. And yet Seattle went with the defensive side of the ball. They went with a defensive coach, and he just dominated. Now you got to give credit to Kubiak. Kubiak clearly it earned every bit of his work, every bit of all the accolades and everything that's going to go along with becoming the head coach for the Raiders. He did a fantastic job as the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, because that's what people got to understand. As much as you give a coach, one coach, so you got to remember he has a staff, okay? And McDonald does not call the offense. He's a defensive coach. So, we just can't overlook that and act like, oh, he was doing it all for Seattle, and it's not going to mean nothing that Kubiak is leaving. Kubiak was just as much a part of this success as McDonald. So I want to give flowers out to the whole coaching staff as a whole. But the fact that you have a defensive guy and head coach, Andrew, is this something that now is going to create a little bit more balance in the NFL, where maybe more teams will be like, hey, you know what? We just got to get a best coach the job here. It doesn't matter if he's an offensive or defensive guy.
I think that'll show other NFL teams that maybe, yes, a defensive coordinator, a defensive coach can lead a team. Because I think in the past, we've seen defensive coordinators get those head coaching jobs and completely flounder within a year to 2 years. So I think this shows the whole NFL that, yes, a defensive coach can be a head coach in the National Football League.
Yeah, and I like that the trend is kind of coming back, because it kind of got away from that in a way. We saw like in some of the NFL past, you saw coaches like Bill Cowher, Bill Belichick, Mike Tomlin. I'm trying to think of former Super Bowl winning coaches, and these guys were defensive guys, Tony Dungy, these guys were defensive guys. Lovie Smith, who was coach of the Bears, it was like defensive guys got a lot more fair of a handshake, and it just kind of seems like now when you go through the NFL, I'm looking at the coaches now, and if you went through the NFL, who's got a quote unquote offensive.
Well, hey Marcus, real quick, we're gonna bring in one more guest.
Oh, we got one.
Yeah, we got Sal.
Yeah.
What up?
I'm in trouble now.
There he is, brother Sal.
What's going on, gentlemen?
How much, man? How you doing?
This is I'm glad we got you in, Sal, because I'm gonna pivot. I'm gonna pivot real quick. We were talking about teams that can make that change, and we were talking about the Raiders. But I got, in all fairness, I do got to throw the Giants out there as being that team that could do what the Patriots did and go from worst to first. How do you see that happening? Can that happen for the Giants?
If they get a real quarterback.
Okay, so you're not you're not a fan of Jackson Dart. Oh.
I grew up a Giants fan for a lot of the Phil Simms days and all that, the LT and all those guys. And if it's like any team, whether it's football, baseball, hockey, basketball, and you see all these changes coming about. And the franchise, I used to work at MetLife Stadium for a good 6 years. So the last time they won it, and and Manning retired, left, they really didn't go after a good quarterback. Oh, they tried at least. with all these guys over the years, and it's like, all right, who are we gonna put the stake on now? And hopefully this kid does pan out. Giant fans are that they're almost as bad as us Yankee fans when it comes to a team always winning and always being in the playoffs, and it's been so long now that it's like, okay, what are we gonna do?
I think though I do respect the coaching hire, because at least you did.
Yes.
You decided to, I felt like the Giants decided to go with a coaching pedigree of winning rather than trying to find that new hot face.
Yeah, now you got to build on it.
Now you got to build on it.
Let's see. They got the guy they wanted, and we hope that they it's going to take this is the test run right here, the first season, of course. And then later on, you start building.
I respect that.
Well, I gotta say, man, I feel like speaking on Jackson Dart, I feel like he showed a lot of upside this year, and I think coaching put him in situations to get him hurt.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's another thing. And you just touched on the word hurt. A lot of people don't know that. I guess a lot of fans do, and maybe you guys, that the field conditions at MetLife Stadium are the worst.
Mm.
And it's like that fake. I mean, I've been on the field. It's like that fake hard plastic. It's not natural grass or whatever it is. And if you read lately, the NFL is making some changes, and I guess teams have to be on the same field surfaces or something like that. They got to meet certain standards now, because if you look at over the years, how many guys have gone to MetLife Stadium, teams and players that have gotten hurt on that field is ridiculous.
Man, and that you bring up an interesting point, and I remember somebody even saying that had a lot to do with Saquon leaving, because he didn't like running on that field.
A lot of guys hated that field. Lots. And there's one sportscaster or radio guy, Mike Francesa, from the Fan, hates MetLife Stadium. He hates the way that was built. And if you look at it, it looks like somebody threw an air conditioner right in the middle of the Meadowlands. I mean, that's like, I think it's the second most expensive NFL stadium out there right as of now. And the billions of dollars that they put into it. Don't get me wrong, it's nice. Now, when I worked there, and I was comparing it when I worked for the Eagles for the last 3 years before I left in June, and the difference in the stadiums and in Philly, how big the suite area was compared to MetLife, and the different food choices and this. And if you look at all the stadiums throughout in baseball and hockey and every major sport, and how the concessions over the years have changed, and with all these choices you got, it's insane. And it's funny you touched on the Giants. I believe the waiting list for season ticket holders was like 10 years at one point. So they want to bring back that winning formula there. The Jets, on the other hand,
that's a dumpster
everybody knows what Jets stands for. Just end the season. So just as bad as the Mets means my entire team sucks, but that's a different right now. But yeah,
in my opinion, talking about the Giants, and this is just my opinion. I don't know if Sal, if you have, as a fan, have another opinion, but when Harbaugh comes in and his coaching staff comes in, they need to teach Scadaboo not to block with his head. Somebody needs to teach that kid not to block with his head, because that's only going to lead to big injuries down the line in his career.
Yeah, and we were talking about that at halftime last night during the Super Bowl, and I said to everybody, let's rewind the clock and why they changed everything, the way people get hit and the quarterbacks, is if everybody remembers when LT and they broke Joe Theismann's leg in Washington.
Yes.
Yeah.
And And a lot of people, you watch that, you want it's you feel it, and you get the chills because it's scary, and how these guys really don't hit as much. Or if you notice when a quarterback gets hit lately and he really don't get hit and he gets the flag anyway, they're protecting a lot of guys. Uh, I believe it's going to take a bit. Who knows? Maybe they'll get these kids, you know, and all ball players throughout any sport are going to change when they have a new manager or coach and stuff like that. And you can relate if you're a fan of New York and you're watching the Knicks this year and how they fired that one guy and they're playing great for this guy, just like Joe Girardi of the Yankees. And it was because of Gary Sanchez, Scary Gary, that you know showed the Yankees showed Girardi the door because Gary Sanchez didn't want to learn the right way to be a catcher and how to hit from Girardi, and that was the out on him. So I think these coaches and the pedigree with some of these coaches and the experience is gonna bolster these kids to play to their potential. I don't know how fast, but it's gonna be good.
Yeah, yeah. Andrew, I gotta ask you, looking now that this season has ended, who do you think is the biggest threat to be the Super Bowl winner next year? Who's the biggest threat to the Seattle Seahawks if the Seahawks were to try to run it back? What team do you see from either conference can knock the Seattle Seahawks off that mountain?
After seeing last night's game, and I know I'm from Chicago, and I'm not trying to be biased towards my team or anything, but I really think, if the Bears work on what they need to in the offseason and really bolster what they need to, watch out, because I don't think anybody expected what the Bears did this year. I don't think anyone expected that, and they got a taste of what postseason play is like. They're going to come back next year, and I have a feeling they're just going to want more of it.
It's going to come down to Caleb. If Caleb right now currently is one of the top 15 quarterbacks in the league. I believe that Caleb, especially with Patrick Mahomes being injured this year, I believe that Caleb could push for being one of the top 3 quarterbacks, right up there with Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and whoever else is going to come out the woodworks, a healthy Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, whoever else you want. But I believe that Caleb will be competing right there with them. He's got that type of talent, and if he keeps ascending like I believe he is, then yes, because one thing that we've seen is that a deadly quarterback can take his team very far. A quarterback that's dangerous and can make special plays the way that we've seen Caleb be able to make those special plays, just like a Patrick Mahomes. That makes you a guy that's a Super Bowl contender every year. But the flip side of it, the Bears have got to fix that defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do not fix that defensive line, it doesn't matter how special Caleb is. They're not going to be able to stop anybody. And your quarterback could be as special as he wants, but you put up 34 points, another team puts up 35, you lose.
Yep.
Period.
Right.
You lose. And so you gotta get, if they get some monsters on that side of the ball, I do believe that the Bears wholeheartedly will be able to be a contender against the Seattle Seahawks, because I do believe that Caleb Williams is that special.
Right, and there's things with just Caleb that just need to be fine-tuned. He needs to know when to say, hey, there's no one open, and use my legs. I think he still needs to work on that. And one thing I've seen with the defensive side of the ball, now I don't know how much truth there is to this rumor, but there are rumors going around that, the Bears could deal DJ Moore to Vegas for Max Crosby. And as a Bears fan, being just talking about it, I would be okay with that move, because you already got Rome Odunze, you got Luther Burden, you got Durham Smythe, and Colson Lowe. So you got receivers out there. You need a good edge rusher on defense, and that's what Max Crosby is.
Yeah, I like that pick. I'm also, who else I like? I think Denver. Like I said, you put Bo Nix in that game. I don't think the Patriots make it to the Super Bowl. I truly don't. I truly do not believe that they would have beat a healthy Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. Now,
No.
now, now, what the Denver Broncos have been able to beat Seattle, that's a different story. But I think that next year, with them able to add a few more pieces, they've already got a very complete defense. Bo Nix will be in his third year. You make sure that your running game is shored up because they took some bangs at that running back position. J.K. Dobbins got injured for the whole season. They were left with only one real bell cow at running back after that. Denver Broncos, I think, have got a big legitimate chance to not only make the Super Bowl, but win the Super Bowl next year.
Wow.
Right. And let's just be honest. The weather saved New England in that championship game against Denver. Let's just be honest here, and that's my opinion. If it wasn't for that snow coming down like it did, it saved Drake May a bunch.
Yeah, the weather lately, not just here, but I guess all the time, plays a big factor in a lot of these games. You know, you don't expect the snow, and that's why we'll never have another Super Bowl up here on the East Coast.
Nope.
Because of that, especially up this way. And unless, I mean, the Eagles pull that off, and if you guys saw that with the $1 billion or how much they want to put a new stadium right across the street there to host the Super Bowl with a retractable dome.
Yep. That's what a lot of winter teams are doing now. That's what the Bears want to do. That's what Minnesota went and did. That's what Detroit has done. If you're a winner, if you're in these cold areas now, they're going and they're rebuilding their stadiums and they're putting them where they can either their dome or their retractable dome. And I just think that that's ingenious because it shouldn't come down to that. You shouldn't have, I can't host the Super Bowl because we can't close off our stadium for bad. With these teams have too much money. They get a massive check from the TV. See, that's what we got to understand. The NFL, regardless of the NFL, what we're talking about them having to pay players and things like that, they get a massive TV check. Each team does, and it's shared revenue. So it's different.
But all those
baseball.
commercials costed so much money. Like Budweiser, you're paying what, $3-4 million in 30 seconds, maybe?
Easily. And that revenue is shared throughout every team. So every team has a nice nest egg to be able to build themselves into a championship contender. And that's why there's so much parity in the NFL because every franchise makes money. And now you're talking about selling jerseys and selling memorabilia and selling concessions and selling concessions and selling tickets for the games. This is you're getting a boatload.
And it's funny you're saying that. Like I said, the marketing. Now, B and I lived in Philly for 3 years and worked at for the Phillies and Eagles, and the Dodgers, and like when the Yankees came in to play the Phillies, and I was working in the team store and I'm looking around, I'm going. Said to the boss in there, says not for nothing. I don't know if any other teams do it like the Yankees, where they'll sell the opposing team's main player jersey or T-shirt, and I'm like, not for nothing. If you got Judge and Ohtani coming in here to play against your team, you wouldn't want to sell something with those guys on there to make money.
Yes.
And then it's funny because when they played when the Dodgers came back, they made a T-shirt with Harper and Ohtani on it.
And
I'm
genius.
But if you've been to Yankee Stadium under the L where the 4 train is, Stan Sports World, the man has it all locked up down there. And I can go in the store with you guys. Hey, we're big Padres fans. Oh, I can grab myself a Manny Machado jersey. I could get this guy's jersey. And back in the day in Madison Square Garden, before they did all the renovations, they had a store in the lobby with everybody from hockey to football to baseball, with all guys from different teams. And that's what it's all about. And like when we were talking, when you were launching the network, I said, it's all about marketing and how we present ourselves out there to watch and have people come and say, hey, these guys are great. What channel is that on?
What channel is that on? And that's what it's about. Like I said, you got to know how to market, and the NFL is doing that. And that's why I believe every team should have a retractable roof if you're in a cold weather
and they should do what MLB does with the All-Star game in different stadiums each year. They should do that with the NFL. Pay me crazy. All right, we're going to go to MetLife this year. Okay, next year go to Philly. Next year we'll go to Miami. This guy's going to get it. This stadium's going to get it. And give people a chance to at least encounter what a Super Bowl is.
You talk about wanting to grow the game. That's how you grow the game, by allowing the Super Bowl to be in other cities that have never even had a chance to host Super Bowl. But it's also on that team to make sure that you have a protected environment stadium, meaning that no Super Bowl should be played in the snow. No Super Bowl should be played in -20 weather. That's not fair.
And that was crazy. Now the one in 2014, I worked at MetLife Stadium when it was the Seahawks and Broncos, and there was the threat of snow, and I was still working for the New York Sanitation Department. I'm retired almost 10 years now, and I was like, oh, where am I going to get stuck at work? Am I going to work the game, or I got to go clear snow somewhere? So they had me on the field with the ceremonies, and me and my friend to look at each other, and we just ran out of there. And I just went to Staten Island in my garage, slept it off, and boom, and it snowed the next day, and we were lucky,
It held up just long enough, man. Hey, we want to thank you guys for joining. We're about to get ready to wrap it on up, man. We want to thank you.
God bless you, gentlemen. Andrew, let's kill it, man. Let's kill it.
Heck yeah, man. Thank you guys for coming on, and it was a great NFL season.
It really was.
Once again, we want to thank all of our guests out there. This is Unfiltered Sports with Mac and Cal on Prime Cover Sports Network. We were joined by Andrew Side and our brother from another, the East Coast monster, Sal, baby. Make sure you check these guys out. Andrew's going to be coming out with your show. Andrew, when is your show dropping?
Sports Mayhem Morning Show will start Monday, March 2nd, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
And Sal, where can they check you out?
We're going to launch a big show March 26th. It's my opening day MLB special, 7 p.m. live on March the 26th. Baseball season is around the corner. It's right here. Spring training on Wednesday. The guys are reporting already. And it's going to be a good season. Watch out. Mets improved. The Mets have improved. The Yankees, the Braves are healthy again. Could be an East rivalry with the Mets, Phillies, and Braves again. So we'll see what happens.
I was excited to see what the South Side of Chicago does too.
Oh yeah,
let's go.
Alex Bregman in Chi-Town.
Let's go. Unfiltered Sports once again with Mac and Cal on Prime Cover Sports Network. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you go and check out all the shows. If you miss any on podcast, on our Spotify podcast, Prime Cover Sports Network. We're taking over, baby. We're out.
That's it, baby. Woo!
Yeah, hey, drop.
Prime Coverage Sports Network. Real coverage, real conversation.